All right, welcome everybody. Happy Earth Month. We're excited that you joined us today. Today we have two speakers from your NAR leadership, and really excited that they're on here to give you the message that about ESG+R and what NAR is doing to be leaders, actually worldwide in this strategy. And the community members within our Climate Action Network group, know how important this message is. And one of the things that I hope to get from this presentation today is how we can talk to our clients and our colleagues about getting this message out. My name is Keith Everett. I'm co-chair of the Climate Action Network here at eXp, and I'm going to be moderating this section. And just a quick note, the session is going to be recorded and it's being live streamed right now on Workplace in the EXP world and on our YouTube channel at eXp Realty. So check those out. Those are places where you can pick up the session afterwards. If you have questions throughout the session, go ahead and drop them in the chat bar where you're watching the video today. We have some people that will be manning that, and we'll get those questions to our guests afterwards. And before I introduce our first guest, a quick highlight of our Climate Action Network. We just launched last July, and super excited. Less than a year, we have just under 400 members. Hopefully some of you guys will join today after hearing this presentation. We're a community of EXP agents, staff, and partners, and we're enthusiastic about caring for the environment. Our goal is to provide a network to educate, collaborate, and inspire climate action on all levels. Our goal is to provide a space to network, educate, collaborate, inspire people to take climate action at all levels. And our goal is one that you've got to admit is very important where we are in the with climate change right now. When you join the eXp CAN team, we have opportunities in leadership, graphic design, content creation, event coordination, project management, green building, sustainability, corporate governance, and there's just a ton. So there's a lot of opportunity. Whatever your passion is, come to us and we'll try to help you further that cause. Our mission is to propel eXp Realty to be a global leader in sustainability and climate action. I've got to admit, the leadership at eXp is really taking this on full force, head on, and it's amazing to see what we're doing. Hosting events like this today is just one of the ways that we're sharing this message. And as I mentioned before, we encourage you to type in the questions down below. So at the end, Leslie and Rod will be able to answer as many as they can. And so today, I'm really happy to introduce the first member of NAR that is representing our trade group, the biggest trade group in the world. The last year's president, Leslie Rouda Smith, and there's so many designations behind her name, I'm not even going to attempt to say them. She's been a realtor for 37 years. She's from Plano, Texas, and I want to say that I've talked to a lot of people in the last few weeks coming up to this, and everyone says that her leadership really pushed this initiative. And if it wasn't for her, they don't think we would be anywhere close to where we are. She led the association in the post-pandemic evolution and elevated sustainability to be a key strategic priority and operational driver for NAR. Her groundbreaking tree planting initiative will plant over 1.5 million trees, one for every member. I got to say, Leslie's charming. I really enjoyed my conversation when I got to meet her. And Leslie, take it away.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate that very much. It's so nice to be with all of you today. And thank you and congratulations for being a part of something that is very important to each and every one of us. I always say I want to leave the planet better than I found it. You know, sustainability is one of those pressing issues that is facing real estate today and everything we do. It's also on the minds of consumers and realtors. So I'm going to give you some stats. According to the National Association of REALTORS 2022 ESG+R report, 63% of the respondents said that energy efficiency promotion in listings is valuable. Half of the agents and brokers surveyed said they helped a client buy or sell a property with green features in the last 12 months, a notable jump compared to 32% in 2021. So as your 2022 National Association of REALTORS president, I made sustainability one of my 3 key programs and focuses of my term. And I'm proud of the efforts that we have made, as well as NAR, in partnering with the National Forest Foundation in planting 1.575 trees. We did pass 1.6 million members, but this was already passed before we hit that number, which made us, we're already the largest trade association in the world, but we were the largest we've ever been last year. So what these trees are going to do is going to be magnificent for years to come. And I just wish I could be here 50 years from now to see the fruits of our labor. They will all be planted by 2025. As a matter of fact, 215,000 were just planted, I believe, last week near Boise, Idaho. And of course, these trees are to help in areas where we've had deforestation, droughts, floods, fires, whatever it may be. And, you know, it challenges us all to ask, how can we leave this place better than we found it for generations to come? So NAR and its members, we are so proud to be leaders in sustainability. Realtors are on the forefront of creating a greener future. So it's my pleasure to share with you how NAR is working to build a more sustainable future for all of us. So on the ESG+R report, we have created a 10-year sustainability and resilience plan. The plan promotes sustainability through actions that focus on our 4 pillars: environmental stewardship, social responsibility, governance, and resiliency at the local, state, and national levels. NAR recently released its second ESG+R report. The 2022 report outlines the important strides that NAR has made with the 4 pillars that I just mentioned. The environmental pillar, we know creating a more sustainable future starts with us. We need to lead the way. We need to talk the talk, and we need to walk the walk. And that is why NAR has made sustainability a central part of everything we do. NAR has taken important measures and improved our own operational efficiencies, such as we have eliminated desk phones for a cloud-based system to reduce energy use, diverting at least 50% of our Chicago buildings waste, which is about 150,000 pounds, from landfills to recycling programs, participating in a program that incentivizes commercial property owners to keep buildings in good condition, replacing printed programs at our major conferences with a conference-specific app. And NAR staff are working to keep members up to date on the latest research on sustainability. We also continue to provide members with cutting-edge research and data on sustainability and the real estate industry through our publications of the Realtors and Sustainability Research Reports. It's published annually. The research compiles responses from thousands of realtors to highlight sustainability topics, and it defines residential and commercial market activity around sustainability across the country. So don't forget to visit nar.realtor/research to access the latest research from NAR. Now, regarding the social pillar, we know building a more sustainable future requires education and collaboration. No one person or organization can do it alone. And that's why NAR has successfully created new opportunities for learning and collaboration. NAR created a new free online course, Intro to Sustainability and Resiliency, What Realtors Need to Know. The curriculum gives members confidence to talk to clients about sustainability. This course explains the relationship between sustainability and the real estate profession. We also have a new sustainability grant that was started last year in 2022. And NAR received 52 applications and requests for this new grant offering, totaling $240,000, but we only budgeted $100,000 for the first year. So these requests could potentially impact 600,000 members. That's a lot. So stay tuned for more on that. We also continue with our key partnerships. One of those is the Food Recovery Network. You can imagine at all of these meetings that we go to, all of the food that is unused is taken to the local shelters. Like right now, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri for the Broker Summit, and all the food that we don't eat will go to a shelter here locally. Last year, the National Association of REALTORS donated 3,019 pounds of surplus food, equivalent to 2,516 meals, to local hunger-fighting nonprofits in 12 cities. Since 2019, the National Association of REALTORS and its affiliates have donated 6,293 pounds, or roughly 5,250 meals. Our resilience pillar, we know environmental resiliency is an important part of creating a more sustainable future. And that's why we must address the challenges created by climate change, such as severe weather events. NAR has taken meaningful steps to promote tools and resources that boost environmental resiliency. NAR collaborated with the Federal Emergency Management Agency to create the FEMA Risk Rating 2.0. This program provides more accurate, property-specific flood insurance rates by pricing each home individually and equitably rather than by a flood zone. This enables homeowners to take a better informed decision about a property's flood risk. The Realtors Property Resource has partnered with Climate Chat. I do hope you are using Realtors Property Resource, also known as RPR, because I promise if you aren't, your competitors are. So if you haven't checked out Realtor Property Resource, you need to. The data that is created at RPR creates an opportunity for realtors to share resources on climate risk and resilience with clients. Our governance pillar, finally, we all know, building a more sustainable future requires leadership, dedication, and consistency. And that's why sustainability is a key component of our NAR 2023 to 2025 strategic plan. As part of the strategic framework pillar of leadership and influence, NAR leads through organizing events that raise members' understanding of sustainability. For example, NAR promotes sustainability initiatives in the real estate industry by hosting annual sustainability summits. Be sure to mark your calendars for the 2023 Sustainability Summit, which is happening September 12th to the 13th. The location of the summit will be announced soon. Sustainability is also an integral part of our efforts under the strategic framework pillar of organizational development and performance. NAR applies an ESG+R lens to evaluate NAR's policies, practices, and decisions. For example, in vendor relationships, the National Association of REALTORS strives to work with companies like Block Docs and SmartPoint, whose business models also prioritize sustainability. Meanwhile, NAR's work has been recognized nationally. NAR Sustainability Program received the 2022 Business Intelligence Group Sustainability Leadership Award. This award honors businesses that have made sustainability an integral part of their business practices. NAR also earned the Green Business Bureau Platinum certification, which is the highest level awarded. Companies receive points for activities they complete related to things like office materials only 1 in 5 companies that apply for the GBB Platinum certification receive it. So if you want to ever access the ESG+R report, go to nar.realtor/sustainability. I will tell you, if you go to nar.realtor, you can put in the search bar just about anything you're looking for. You know, NAR's code of ethics starts with, under all is the land, and it's up to us to be good stewards of that land, to preserve and to protect it for future generations. So as we look ahead, I call on each and every one of you to work together to ensure a safer, more sustainable future so that we can all bring it home for our clients, the realtor family, and the communities that we serve. And also, just kind of on a side note, my husband and I have a ranch that's a wildlife ranch. So we do a lot of sustainability things like erosion control with grasses, prescribed burns, which is a whole other thing. But we do a lot of work with waterfowl, with migration flyways, of course, making places for wildlife to hide from their predators, and, you know, sending fish from one pond to another to save them in a drought. There are just so many things that we can do. And I can also tell you, there are a lot of things that you can do. Even if you live in an apartment, does not mean that you too can't be sustainable. So I hope everyone takes some great takeaways from this. I'm going to pass it back to Keith, and I'm sure we'll come back and answer some questions for you. Thank you.
Leslie, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed when you were telling me your story about your ranch. It's just awesome, the stuff you do. And in the classes in the green designation coming into this and the intro to sustainability class, they talk about walking the walk and doing the activities yourself. It was a great representation of your leadership. So thank you very much for participating today.
Thank you.
Okay. Guys, our next guest is another leader in the NAR organization, Rod Helm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he's currently the 2023 chair of the NAR Sustainability Advisory Group. He's been a realtor since 1991, works with Coldwell Banker Burnett in Minneapolis, and he is a residential broker. At the national level, Rod served as a 2019 Region 8 Vice President and had various committee and board roles over the years. And one thing that I failed to tell Leslie, thank you for your service, Rod. We appreciate you doing what you do for us. It's amazing to have leaders that contribute and participate like you do. So take it away, Rod.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Keith. Well, thanks for having me go second. It's hard to follow a national precedent, just so you know. I've got a slideshow that we're going to run through. Alex, if you wouldn't mind putting it up. And go to the next slide, please. This is a presentation we did for all the public policy chairs. And I just want to step you through a little bit what the Sustainability Advisory Group, we'll call it SAG from this point forward here, does, where it's come from, and a little bit of history with how NAR has developed such, the strength behind the sustainability effort. So I'm chair of this advisory group. It's not a typical committee. It's actually a group with all the public policy chairs on it. We have both of our vice presidents for advocacy and association affairs on it. We do have an at-large group of content experts and just a handful of general members that have some real strengths to it. And then we also pull from a lot of the other association activities into it. It's about 50 people or so on it. And it's meant to be set up as this pathways between the organization so that silos are broken down. I think the closest analogy as we move through this presentation is how we're looking at DE&I on a national level and how it's intertwined with everything and how we view things. And it's on purpose why we have these chairs on there, because as we get into this, I challenge this group to kind of think about any area of the country or any topic around real estate that's not going to be affected by climate-related changes on our markets. Whether it's insurance chair is on this, funding, you get into water sustainability, you think about affordability issues. In our state specifically, we're going through a carbon-free initiative legislatively for 2040, which also means substantial retrofits. So, when you think about how the organization has to think about it, it really does touch a lot of parts of our industry, a lot of parts of our organization. Alex, want to jump to the next slide, please? Leslie had spoken quite a bit about sustainability, but really we always start out with just giving some definitions up there, because sustainability, everybody seems to have a different definition of it. And what I'm trying to do, through the SAG this year is really try to get us to realign and think about sustainability and resilience as more like strategic and tactical words. They really are kind of the two main weapons that we have to address climate change related real estate issues. And sustainability itself is meant to be broad. You'll hear it used in a lot of different ways. And I think there's always this habit trying to narrow it into having some really refined definition. And it's meant to be broad. It's meant to be all encompassing. It's meant to, engage all parts of our thought process as we think about our industry, how we are in it, how we are as leaders in it. Alex, want to jump to the next slide, please? I don't know how much you can read this. I just am going to put this up, kind of what SAG Purpose is, and I kind of explained it as well. But again, it's trying to develop pathways through all the silos, trying to deliver our sustainability platform across the industry, and also bring it into how we think about everything on the national level. Alex, want to jump to the next one, please? And these slides can be sent out to Keith, and Keith certainly can distribute how you'd like to. This is just a header. Please jump to the next one, Alex. Here's a little history, and I hope you can see it okay. It really started back around 2007, but gained a lot of steam through the kind of late teens there. And really probably the major line item there, Leslie referenced as well, is in 2020, we had a sustainability report published. It was roughly 150 pages, and it set forth what we should be doing for the next 10 years at the National Association of REALTORs. And just if you think about the continuum, probably in 2008, 2007 or 8, it was hard to even have these conversations on an association level. As short as just a few years ago, most of our climate conversations were phrased as severe weather events. And now within the last couple of years, we're really starting to have the conversation of really what the issue is with climate change and the related impacts it has on our market. And as Leslie mentioned too, in 2022, it was brought into the strategic plan in 4 different areas for the 2023 plan through the 2025. And we'll touch on that in a bit, but again, it's really become a fabric of what we're doing now, how we think about things. And now as in our efforts, we're going to try to certainly bring that into the states, into the locals, into the brokerages. We as an organization touch so many people by the mass and the scaling that we have that any changes that we can do certainly can impact quite a bit nationally. Next slide, Alex, please. Leslie, I'm not going to go through these again, but Leslie touched on all of these with regards to other initiatives that are going on NAR. There is that 1-hour NAR Sustainability Course. I certainly advise anybody to watch. It's an excellent course. We can get any kind of details out to Keith, to your organization, to track it down. Next slide, please. And here's a QR code for the ESGR report for 2022. And I'll leave this up for a minute for those of you who want to download. Obviously, this presentation isn't quite set up for 2 of us talking on some of these topics. So, and Leslie did such great coverage on all this. I'm not going to touch on this in detail other than there's a QR code if you're interested in downloading this report. And then next slide, Alex. And you can jump to the next one here too, please. Now, Leslie touched on this, and this is more details on the 4 pillars that she talked about in ESGR. And this is going to be relevant a little bit later in this conversation, because part of what we're doing on a national level is creating a toolkit for state and local associations to really develop their own capacities. And we're going to assign or align a lot of their tasks and things they can build into their own plans back to our categories here on the ESGR. And next slide 2, please, Alex. This is just a different way to look at it. And underneath each one of these, there's a number, at least at National Association level, there's a number of tasks associated with each one of these that people are doing. But we're going to tie this all back into kind of a collaborative process, not collaborative, but a coordinated process across the country that as state and locals, as brokers try to develop their own sustainability planning, they've got kind of a reference guide to come back to how NAR is looking at it. Next slide, please. You can jump to the next one too. So as Leslie mentioned too, this past 2022 planning, strategic planning session actually incorporated sustainability quite a bit into the strategic plan. And the next few slides, we're going to just zip through them a little bit, but there's two primary takeaways that we at the SAG are kind of latching on to. One, as Leslie mentioned, seeing the association works through the lens of sustainability. And again, that is probably the closest association is to DE&I. It's like all our efforts, all our governing efforts, our policy efforts, our how we do our own physical assets, all of it has to kind of have a lens to it, almost like a filter process as we go down to it. Keith just popped a question up and I'll read it. What is the best way to approach agents and board leadership that are not open to the ESGR message? That's a great question. And I think that's even, on a state level, we find that, or even on a local level, you find very different opinions on how much we should engage in it. We kind of look at the different audiences to start off with. We kind of go with the PPP, which is you're either kind of people-driven, planet-driven, or profit-driven. So there's messages hidden within each one of those types of categories of who your audience is. We are finding probably the most universal language in our industry is more an economic language. And that economic language is really into everything. It's going to be lendability, insurance rates, water access. Again, in our state, if we do not engage now, from a ESG&R level with a 2040 guideline that we're supposed to be electrified for the most part, that's a powerful message to get into our brokerage about how to take action now. I'm an engineer before I came into this business, so I kind of think in terms of physics to the same question. And it's hard to argue against the warming of our planet. Warmer water expands, more water in the atmosphere is more energy is stronger storms. We look at these events, from a national level, the billion-dollar insurance events, and they're exponentially growing each year. And I think as an organization that touches 30% of the carbon footprint out there in residential housing, and then uses certainly a lot of the other electricity and natural gas throughout the country, we have I think a more imperative amount, a couple seconds on each. These are the 4 parts of the strategic plan. Again, what we really are focusing on the lens portion of it, and then also the leadership portion of it. You can jump to the next one again. This is meant for a longer presentation, everybody. Next one, please. And then the next one, please. You can go to the next one, please. So 2022 and 2023, I'm just going to start off with a little bit how the SAG has looked at its goals for the year. We've really created 3 buckets, and this is last year's goals that we touched on. One is culture, one is state and local association, and then the third one is data. And last year under Leslie is probably one of the biggest champions I think this issue's had for our National Association. So she was a major partner in a lot of it. Culture, a big part of that was the trees that she referenced. The sustainability grants were a great hit. We are bringing those out again this year. Data, we went into, research-wise, we went into certain case studies throughout the country, looking at what severe storm events have caused and impacted realtors' livelihood. Tough to sell real estate when all your properties just got burned down on wildfires. Hard to sell property when you've got water restriction issues. I mean, there's just a lot. Flooding, wipes out entire markets for a certain period. So there's a lot of challenges. So we did do deep dives into those, taking a look at how that impacted the realtor and the realtor's livelihood. And the last one is kind of the state and local resources. And we began a toolkit. So our goal is to bring a planning process nationally, reaching out to the AEs across the country. A lot of them just needed help and direction. So we spent a good part of a year coming up with the detailed outline of how to bring association, and which you'll see into the brokerage level, and you'll probably see into the member level as these different associations gather their capacities. But going through almost a strategic planning process where they understand what are their issues, what are their capabilities. We bring them into really understanding the why in their area, because that's going to be different for different areas. Going through a process and then using case study and also a whole list of different activities to build back into their plan. And then moving to the next slide, the goal for this year, continuing on that, is to create an online platform across the country for the AEs, association executives to utilize and help their associations do planning processes, but also looking to create networks across the country so best practices can be shared, brokers can line in, finding the environmental champions, I guess, in different markets where they can bring their best practices nationally. The trees tipped us off on a whole different view on research this year, as we talked about our carbon footprint and offset from the trees from last year. We are going to be looking at our full carbon footprint for NAR this year, and also looking at some other research programs and maybe just, what is the cost and what is the impact of getting properties prepared for this next, we have a large as-built community here and retrofitting properties for the electrification that may be coming. Great value proposition for agents to be able to reach out to the clients and understand this better, and also direct them into how to prepare themselves for what that future buyer is looking for. And in the third large bucket, we're running with, again, culture group, and we've got a number of different things that we're going to be focused on. Inflation Reduction Act, we're talking about how do we blend ourselves into advocacy better and how we rethink advocacy on that. Engaging DE&I, and also, again, really focusing on the lens of it. How do you start a sustainability plan? What data should we start to focus on? Yeah, so great question. We got a question from Heather Cruz, it looks like. So how we were bringing people through is much like you do like a strategic planning for your business. So our first step is to really help them understand how to communicate the why to their association or their brokerage or their whatever group that they're working on. The next one step was bringing through a scan, environmental scan of what's their capabilities, what are their issues, what are their geographical problems going on, what kind of talent do they have to pull from, and then in the whole strategic process, we're going to lead them through actually a planning process. And then tied into that, there's going to be a large take action section. So all of this by the year end is going to be available through your association. But the pillars are going to be brought in, the ESG+R pillars are going to be brought back into the whole planning process of, through this application. Hopefully it answered the question. Because what to focus on is really going to vary. It's going to vary on your submarket. It's going to vary on what capabilities you have to do. Again, we're going to try to set stuff up to really allow the smallest of associations to take action to the most sophisticated one to gain something from it. So that's kind of my portion of it. Certainly Leslie is much more polished of a speaker than I am, so hoping that you got something out of what the SAG is doing. So Keith, I don't even want to bring us all back together here.
Thanks, Rod. So Alex, do we still have Leslie with us?
Hey. I'm here.
Okay, so Pam, one of our Climate Action Network members, asked if you have any advice on how to get started on this messaging as an agent.
Clear me.
Yeah. Either one of you.
Well, I think you have to, in order to get to the messaging, you have to make it, you have to kind of get clear to what the why is for your audience. And there's a number of them, whether it's getting your like in a specific situation, getting your seller prepared for what that buyer is going to be looking for 20 years from now. Getting your physical asset prepared for whatever changes are coming down in your state. I mean, a real low-hanging fruit in our state would be if we just taught agents to counsel their new construction buyers to rough in 240s everywhere where there's natural gas. So in 10 years, when it's going to start becoming a mandated issue, you're not tearing apart your entire property. So it really varies on the issues because different states and different localities all have different problems going on. For us in Minnesota, if you look at a climate map, and you got the hot zones around the country and then the next zones, we're kind of one of the few green destination areas. Well, that's an affordability problem now. And on top of it, we've got sellers that used to sell their properties and go down to Arizona, or they go down to Florida because it's still winter here outside. We had a blizzard this past weekend. They're starting to change behaviors and just rent, because the unknown and a little bit of the instability of possibly what that might look like. I know these markets are still doing very well throughout the country. And, you could argue this on price increases, but there are some behavioral changes. So it really depends on, understanding what's going on in your specific market to just kind of begin where to start. Sometimes it's as simple as starting just with your own asset and energy efficiencies, or your own brokerage office, or your own clients, and kind of just letting them know some preparedness type deals or to improve their efficiencies.
Yep.
That answers the question. Leslie, do you have anything to add to that? Or?
Well, I think getting the green designation is probably not a bad way to start.
Well, that's an easy one, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I think it really comes down to education and maybe like hitting somebody's hot button. So I'll give you an example of something that happened to me with the trees. And of course, I thought, seriously, someone's complaining about the trees because they might not be planted in all 50 states. And I said, but, we obviously know that trees provide shade, great curb appeal for the homes that we sell. And you know what else they do? They purify the air that we breathe. Guess what? That oxygen crosses state lines. So I shut them down pretty quickly because, it was like, they were like, it's stupid. Why would we need to do this? What good are these trees going to do? And I just saw something the other day of some people who planted a bunch of trees in an area that literally was wiped clean of trees. And just to see in 18 years what it looks like now, it was just magnificent. And I can tell you, when we do prescribed burns, which there are different kinds of burns. There's hot, cold, warm, and it's how fast the burn goes. So there's a fire set on one end, a fire on the other. They crash in the middle. But the cool part about it is it oxygenates the soil. So within like 24 to 48 hours, there's literally new green growing out of the ground. And of course, that's a huge problem with these wildfires out west, is they have not done prescribed burns. And that's why we're losing so many trees in the first place, as well as properties, is because that thatch is the fuel for those fires. So get somebody excited about, watching a controlled burn, or maybe understanding what trees do for our universe. There's always going to be a hot button somewhere that's going to intrigue someone, whether it is making sure that, waterfowl or wildlife have the best groceries, which means they're going to stop by. That way, if you need food, you have options if that day comes where we don't. So that's just, sort of planning ahead. But like what Rod was saying, there's so many things we have to think about too when we're remodeling or building from the ground up. And hopefully our builders across the country are paying attention and will guide people in that. But I really feel like it just takes one or two things for someone to see, because I think sometimes it's the fear of the unknown. If you don't know something, you think, why would I want to do that? I've never heard of that before. Why do I need that? Right. Or we just give them a few things to make them think that maybe it's worth it, or maybe just say, go research this, or what is of interest to you, and then try to pull it together with something that relates to this. And I think that's possible probably with most people. I would hope so.
Yeah, can I add real quickly to that? So the 1-hour NAR Sustainability Course is a great way to get engaged in it. Your local associations probably and hopefully have some access to coursework on this, and then also engagement in the local and state associations on this effort. You know, I kind of was not I personally wasn't a super green person 10 years ago. I mean, it wasn't but you know, you start realizing our obligation to our future and the importance of being part of a solution here, and what we're all going to need to do and change is how we approach our businesses and knowledge based on our product and helping our clients navigate all this stuff. Huge value proposition or value offering for your clients too, that you start understanding this. What a great campaign to bring them through for the next 10 years of a trickle down marketing.
And a lot of associations and companies like you are offering sustainability committees at their local and state levels. Clearly we have it at the national level, but I'm hearing more and more. I bet you are too, Rod.
Yeah, well, definitely. It's on a substantial growth pattern or growth trajectory. So.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that introduction to sustainability class, Rob, because I just did that after the green designation, and there's a ton of great information in that, just in that 1-hour class, and resources. That's one thing that I'm very impressed at, how you guys as you guys as leaders of our organization are giving us such great resources like this. It's just something that if you don't tap into it, you just don't even know how much you guys are doing for us.
Yeah.
We got another question here.
I was going to say the topic's pretty daunting too. I mean, it's just it's such a large scale, you know, amount of issues that we need to address, and just even getting in your foot pulled in it.
Well, Leslie's point about bringing your passion, you know, for Leslie's passion for trees. What are you interested in, and what the area where you're in, like you were talking about, Rod, is huge. I'm in the Southwest. I'm right 7 minutes from the Colorado River. Water is a big issue for me, and that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what pulled me into the green space more recently. So I think that's terrific. Another similar question is, how does sustainability make agents stand out from their peers?
I can answer.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I can address it. You know, it's a difficult period, like in our market right now. Even though you would think it'd be a slower market, we have such an inventory shortage, so it all seems to go so quickly. But I think it stands out. You know, well, there's some agents that really market it. You know, they market their knowledge on this. But I just find that the conversations in and around this, people are interested. The consumers are out there in front of, I think, a lot of the agents. As far as knowing this, you know, there's a lot of cars that people are interested in the cars and that kind of stuff. And it just to really develop an expertise in order to be talking about all the topics around it is down to, you're buying in a condo building, are they prepared to bring electrification for electric cars? You know, do they have is it going to be assessed? You know, that's all really important information to bring to a transaction when you're working with the buyer, or as on the flip side with the seller, to understand. So I mean, I think that just as a very initial step, just being a stronger product knowledge person, you know, and helping counsel your clients in better decision making or better preparedness. I feel it's important for us to engage in this, because 10 years from now or 15 years from now, you don't want to be staring at your clients and then looking back at you and saying, why didn't you tell me then how important it was, or what this change was going? It's a little bit, you know, there's a lot of parallels to DE&I, where we don't want to be having to be in a position where we're apologizing that we didn't engage soon enough on this. And I feel like we're engaging heavily right now. But it does require agents to kind of lift their head up and see what the future might be looking at, and what does that mean in their market, and then how to start having that communication plan with your clients.
It's funny. I just giggle when you said 10 to 15 years from now. Just remember 15 years ago, where we had, you know, cell phones as big as bricks, and we didn't have, you know, much going on in the internet yet. No internet leads. We were just developing that. And the guys that jumped on that technology then are the ones that are super successful now. So I appreciate that answer. I'm not sure if Cody has any questions that he's fielded. I've got one more that I got. And Leslie, you touched on this, but what what's the passion that brought you into sustainability? And Rod, if you can follow Leslie up on that, that'd be great.
So I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm a Buckeye, but I got to Texas as quick as I could, and I wrote me a cowboy. So my cowboy likes the land, and he's a farm and ranch real estate broker. So I've learned so much from him. And we won the Lone Star Land Steward Award from the Texas Parks and Wildlife for all the work we've done on our ranch. And we do not live there. So it's a lot harder because you know, it's an hour and 20 minutes each way, and you don't always have time to make things happen. But there's so many things that we do. And I keep trying to tell him he needs to let the kids do some of this stuff now because we're getting older and it's time to start teaching them how to, you know, drive the skid steer and the tractors and get some of these things done. But just in learning, it's just, he's very intriguing because he knows every grass, every tree, every flower, everything. He'll say, you can eat those, never eat those or you'll die. And I'm like, I need to take pictures of all these so I can pay attention. But I do learn so much. Like I had never even heard of a prescribed burn until, you know, we did them at our own ranch. And it is fascinating. I mean, if you ever get to see one, it's amazing. But, you know, another thing that we're trying to add on to are like rain catchers so that we can catch rainwater. And I know you can't do that in every state. They have different laws that don't allow it. But in Texas, we can. So while we can, then we should be doing that, right? So there's just a lot of things that we can all do just to be more sustainable and more efficient. And like I said, there's things you can do even if you live in an efficiency apartment. There are always things that you can do. And all you have to do is get online and look or go to NAR.Realtor and search for what you're looking for. And I guarantee you'll find it. Or Rod and I would love to go find it for you, wouldn't we?
Yeah. There's no shortage of people wanting to help out there.
That's right. That's for sure.
So
Rod, what was your passion that dragged you into this 10 years ago?
Yeah, so where I really gained momentum is our oldest child, our daughter, went to college. I mean, just her degree was in environmental studies, and she started a lot of policy around it. And you know, she'd call home with case studies that she's working on, and all of this. And you know, the alarming element just keeps growing inside of me. I've come up like Leslie. It's hard to sit with Leslie because she's done everything plus two times that I have. But you know, I've come up through like state president and risk management and RPAC world, and you kind of end up touching a lot as you volunteer for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And and maybe it's my own interest in, you know, past world of engineering kind of physics stuff. It's scary to me to see sometimes the horizon from the standpoint of if we don't take action. You know, we're a very resilient organization and a very resilient population of people. But the longer we wait, the bigger the issues. You know, this whole environmental thing, it's going to be in the advocacy world soon. It's going to the economic impact. There's going to be discussions everywhere. You know, you think about cities having. There's one real personal thing that got me going. So we did some infill developments where we did tear downs, and I was doing a subdivision presenting in a city about 8 years ago. And right before I presented to city council, the city planner was there talking about their stormwater management systems and the need to be redoing the entire city's stormwater management system. And it was tens of thousands of dollars of assessment per property. You know, that's a real impactful thing. And you think about across our country, these storms are hitting quicker. You know, that particular city had 3 100-year rains in the same month. This was a number of years ago. Instead of over 24 hours, it came within 2 hours. So, I mean, it was impactful to their systems. And you start thinking about what that means for our sellers or buyers, you know, the impact on state and local taxes. And, you know, there's tentacles everywhere here. And I feel like this is such a good organization with such reach. And there's very few organizations. And for you think about just your own EXP, how many people are you touching right now? And then they can touch 300 people. You know, the reach is tremendous if we can get engaged on the topic the way we need to. I guess that's kind of where I'm kind of powered by.
You know, Keith, one thing that really hit home with me, we did a beach cleanup since I've been in leadership. And we were supposed to get like this big bucket and just go collect like little pieces of styrofoam and plastic and things like that. And most people shared a bucket, but no, being the overachiever that I am, I was going to fill my own bucket, which meant I missed the picture that everyone took at the end because I was leaving until my bucket was full. But when they show you how little a piece of plastic or styrofoam can affect our marine life, and they wash ashore and they do an autopsy on them and they're full of all the stuff that we, the humans, littered, it was really sad to see what was going on with our marine life. And, you know, when you see things like that, it just makes you want to give, and make a difference.
Yeah, I love that.
I had this slide, Keith, that a presenter did for us, and it had a water bottle. And along Leslie's comments, like, what does one bottle matter? Said 30 million people.
Yeah,
you know, that's
a great message.
You know, yeah, you know, just simple improvements in your own life have impact across, you know, such a magnitude. If you can just get everybody, you know, to take initial steps here. All our 1.5 million agents went home and changed their light bulbs out. You know, there's just some, you know, there's some really basic.
Or use refillable water bottles.
Or use refillable water bottles, you know, and then, you know, right there.
I was doing a presentation the other day for some EXP folks, and we have 87,000 agents, and say that they have an average of 250 people in their database, and they put out some sustainability messaging. That 50 of their 150 friends that see that talk to 50 of their friends, and in 3 levels you could get to 1 billion people. And if you can have 1 billion people, you know, change one light bulb, I mean, the impact that real estate has with the ability to you know, communicate with our clients and and spheres of influence, it's just crazy. So
we think about it, they need a new dentist, who do they call?
Right.
Very trusted.
Has nothing to do with the house.
Very trusted relationship. I just find, on a personal note, my clients are interested in this stuff. You know, you know, you talk about it, and they're starting to drive, you know, certainly electric cars more, so chargers have become important. Okay, do you have enough amps in the house to run? You know, you can just see how the conversations just go. And it's the market out there, the consumers are interested, and the younger groups coming up, the younger people are very interested in it. So you want to have a house that's going to sell 10 to 15 years to the buyer that care about all this stuff. Just probably start making some changes.
Well, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And, you know, you guys are volunteers. You do this for free, and getting this message out. Everyone I've spoken to in NAR is so excited about getting the message out. And it doesn't matter if we're an independent, Coldwell Banker, EXP. It doesn't matter who we work for. It's getting the message out because we're saving the planet. And again, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Hey, everybody, hang in there for the rest of the Earth Month. We have another class next Tuesday that's going to be on the elephant in the room, the solar, and how you can get the solar messaging out to your clients. These guys that are going to be talking are incredible, and they're going to teach you how to talk to your clients and appraisers about solar. I mean, Josh Wallet is the president of the National Association of Appraisals, and he's going to be helping us navigate how to get that pricing for our sellers. And then as we round out the month, one of our members, Helena, is going to launch our book club, and we're going to start that next Friday. And it's drawdown. It's you may not be able to see it, but it's right up there on my bookshelf. This is an amazing book, and Helena is going to be the one that hosts that for us. So again, if you're interested in our group, you can go find us on Workplace. There's a button you can push to join us. If you have a passion, we want to help you be able to, you know, reach out to your clientele, utilize that passion to get more business, and more importantly, to, you know, tackle this climate action challenge that we're having. Hope you enjoyed the show, and hope to see you back here Tuesday for our next event.